So after the concussion, when all my concussion symptoms had pretty much resolved, I was confident and relieved that I was finally going to be competing again, especially at this major competition. But the very week before the competition, something happened. I began to feel a sharp pain in my back, and at first I overlooked it as I was practicing, because in rhythmic gymnastics we do a lot of contortion, so our backs are often sore. It usually goes away though, and it's no big deal. Usually. Unfortunately, in this case, the pain was a big deal, because it wasn't just sore muscles, tired from being stretched so much. It was a sharp, needle-like pain, and every time I jumped, every time I arched, I would feel like someone was stabbing me with a knife in the back. I went into a combination of both panic and denial. Oh no, this can't be happening, I thought to myself as I was practicing. Not after the concussion, not after everything that's happened, not right before this important competition. As if pretending the pain didn't exist would make it go away, I pushed through it and practiced as if nothing was wrong. Maybe it'll go away, I tried to reassure myself. Maybe I'm just exaggerating. But the next day that awful excruciating pain was back, and worse. I skipped a precious practice before a competition to go see a chiropractor, hoping it would fix my problems. But all seeing the chiropractor did was make the pain worse. I desperately wanted to make it to the next competition, the LA Cup, but soon it got to the point where practicing hurt to the point of tears. I knew that it was time to accept the truth. I was injured. But now it was time to find what exact injury I had, and that was easier said than done. It was a whole emotional roller coaster. Suddenly my calendar was full of doctor's visits as I got x-rays and MRIs, all sorts of different specialists looking at me, trying to figure out what was wrong. We now know that what I had was a stress fracture, but it took a lot to get to that point. The x-rays showed that nothing was wrong. The spinal MRI showed that nothing was wrong, but I sure felt wrong. The situation had gotten to the point where the pain wasn't just in my back. It was everywhere, all across my lower back and down my legs. I had to miss days of school because it was so excruciating, and I had to spend those days with my legs propped up against the wall and a heating pad under my back. The whole time I was panicking. What's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this? And the most dreaded question, will I ever do rhythmic gymnastics again? The whole situation was an emotional roller coaster because I was diagnosed with so many things and each of them turned out to be wrong. First, I apparently had the sciatic nerve, so we did all sorts of treatments for that. Then they thought, no, actually, I had a disc bulge, so we tried to do stuff for that. But then, finally, one doctor decided to run a pelvic MRI. That was where we found a little hairline fracture, and I was relieved. Now, most of the time, receiving the news that you have a stress fracture isn't something that should make you jump up with joy, but for me it was. I finally knew what was wrong with me, and more than anything, stress fractures weren't permanent. They healed. I could do rhythmic gymnastics again. We also found out why I had that fracture in the first place. Because I started rhythmic gymnastics so early, and I didn't change my diet when I added 4 hours of intense exercise 4 times a week, I began to drop weight very rapidly and at a time that I was supposed to be growing and gaining weight. I was malnourished and I didn't even know it. Malnutrition can cause women to lose their periods, and that's exactly what happened to me. And the menstrual cycle directly affects bone health. If girls lose their periods for too long, it can cause osteoporosis, or fracturing of the bones, just like what happened to me. This 3-step escalation, malnutrition and excessive exercise, causing girls to lose their periods, causing them to fracture, is called the female athlete triad. And the truth was that I had been noticing my drop in weight and loss of periods, but I didn't really bring it up. First of all, I hadn't realized how dangerous it was to be losing weight at 11, 12 years old, a time that you're supposed to be growing and gaining weight. I actually kind of liked it. If you look at a professional gymnast, a lot of them are stick thin, unnaturally thin and prepubescent looking. So in my mind, losing weight wasn't a problem. It was just me getting into rhythmic gymnastics shape, looking more like those gymnasts who I look up to so much, the professionals. As for the periods part, well, periods are a nuisance, and so when I started skipping them, I didn't pay any mind to them because I didn't miss them one bit. And it didn't occur to me that not getting my periods was the first sign that something wrong was going on. After the stress fracture diagnosis, I worked with an OBGYN and a nutritionist to get myself back up to the healthy weight and start getting my periods again. I also worked with a physical therapist to help ensure the best healing for my fracture. I was feeling positive. Everything was in the hands of time. As soon as that fracture mended up, I could get right back to gymnastics, right back to what I loved. Being sick and injured and seeing a bunch of doctors would just be an ugly memory in the past. But unfortunately, just like with my concussion, I'd celebrated too soon.